all you Global Flows junkies. This is Patrick Brady coming at you from Austin, Texas. And today I'm going to talk about why factory relationships matter. So I have some personal stories and also some training for those who are interested in working with factories. There are a lot of different kind of factories, mainly, as you know, that I'm in the furniture space. So we deal with furniture factories, but I've worked with probably 100 different factories in solar energy and solar panels, who I'm still good friends with, and electronics. I think many of you know that I lived in Shenzhen, so we would work with electronics factories with, back in the day, it was MP3, MP4, and lots of small consumer electronic products. And today we're in furniture. I did some indoor furniture and outdoor furniture. But I have a lot of experience dealing with factories. One of the cool things about speaking Chinese, a lot of the factories owners don't speak English, and they work through a sales team to help translate. I have witnessed many, many times where the salesperson translator doesn't translate properly. Either they don't deliver a very direct message, or they try to sugarcoat the situation, or even sometimes the salesperson makes big mistakes that they don't want their boss to know. And so they sugarcoat and make themselves look good in front of the boss. So I like to speak Chinese. I can speak it more directly to the boss, build relationships with the boss, not through Joe, Sarah, or Jenny, or whatever the salesperson's name is. Pardon my sneezing. I got a little bit of a cold here. All right, cool. So factory relationships matter more than most people realize. And here's a story. I have a story. I had a customer. He was a Dutch customer, and he was selling handbags and some other kind of leather goods, fake leather stuff. And he had suppliers in Qingdao area in Shandong province, and they were doing business for a long time together. And then eventually this customer of mine, a lot of my customers actually were people who were frustrated doing business with Chinese suppliers. So he found me online. This is when I was running Brady Sourcing. He found me online and came in to China, flew into China, and I flew in to meet him. I had never met any of his suppliers. He actually hadn't hired me yet. He just was looking to hire me as someone who could represent him on the ground in China. So I picked him up at the airport, and the factory picked him up at the airport, and we went to the factory. Huge, huge factory. He was having some quality issues and some pricing issues, and product would arrive, and it was one of those deals where he was buying purses at $20 and selling them for $300. So he was super fat margin, but there were some quality issues. So he comes in, and we meet with the factory, and then he's got this long list of things he wants to discuss. And as typical, his salesperson was doing the translating, as I told you, and completely ill-advised, or advising the boss the wrong way. So making excuses for quality and saying that this Guilo doesn't know what he's talking about, and we shipped them on time, and blah, 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 blah. And the customer had records of late shipments and photos of bad quality and all this stuff. So I sat there and I became the translator. And the salesperson was so pissed at me. And anyway, so eventually there was this long discussion, and that we were starting to come to some kind of conclusion, some solution for the thing. There was going to be a discount from the factory. And then the customer was like, and I was like, let's go see the factory. Let's go walk the floor. So we go into the factory. As I said, it's huge. It's 10 buildings. And we say we want to go see the production facility. And for some reason, cars started showing up to take us somewhere. And we're like, wait, the factory's here. And I said, no, actually the factory is on the other side of town or something. So we get in these cars and we go, and 2.5 hours later in this little podunk village, there's this thatch roof cottage with one hanging light and all these workers in the village, including, unfortunately, children. The guy had no idea. And he was so pissed. And believe it or not, this guy was so pissed that he actually refused having dinner with the supplier, which is I've never seen that before. Extremely pissed. And eventually we figured things out. I found him a new supplier, but this kind of thing is really interesting. So I always advise, if you're going to spend money, if you're going to develop business with a factory, meet the ownership, do lots of different things. I'll go through some of the things that you should do. But this is kind of just like you would in the States. You wouldn't do a lot of business with someone in the States that you didn't have a good relationship with or didn't trust. So you always want to get on a plane. Anyway, so that's funny because I had just started my company and I had so many foreigners calling me about ways that they had been duped by Chinese factories. All right, so why relationships matters. Factories prioritize people and not POs. If you do have a relationship with a factory owner, always meet the owner if you can. If you have a big enough business or big enough balls to do significant production, you want to meet the owner. Don't just meet the sales guy. Although salespeople really help you out, and if you have a good relationship with a salesperson, they can help put your product at the front of production. But a lot of times, you definitely want to get in with the boss. You want to have drink some baijiu, and if you don't drink alcohol, drink some milk or whatever you need to do. But dinner and meals are really important. And the trust leads to honesty and flexibility. And then strong relationships reduce risk. And then weak relationships create surprises. You don't want to have surprises, have quality issues, and then suddenly say, factory XYZ, you're chatting on whatever WeChat or something with the sales guy and he can't do anything. You got to know the boss. You need to build a relationship while you're doing your sourcing, or if you're in the sourcing phase, then you're going to slowly build the position to have a relationship. With small business, you don't really usually get a priority position. Visit when possible, communicate clearly in writing, pay on time, and solve problems together. If you can do it and your salesperson's on WeChat, try to get the boss on WeChat too. And then put a message in your Google Translate, and send the boss something in Chinese saying, ni hao, ni zhe yang, this kind of thing. Very simple Chinese that you can put into Chinese characters and send over. There's no excuse not to. Now, taking a humble approach is always the best policy, and Chinese people get overwhelmed when you speak Chinese or write something in Chinese, or at least try. So you should do that. Factories don't work harder for the customer who pushes the hardest. They work harder for the customer they trust the most. So, some ideas. Let me know. If you have any experience or want to talk more about it, then let me know. I'll have some other topics like this dealing with China, hopefully valuable information for buyers. And so I'm going to sign off. Thank you so much. I have some great articles in the newsletter, and Crystal's helping me with that. She's doing a great job. So this has been Global Flows. Take care.